Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the Radiance Podcast for Jaffray Academy, which is also broadcasting live as well for anyone who wants to tune in. Today we have three guests: Sister Batoul Sarraj, Sister Zahra Milani, and Sister Nikhat Panjwani. All of them are very experienced in the field of education, and inshallah we're going to be again finding out about their involvement with the Jaffray Academy. So assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Thank you so much for coming online. And so I will start with Sister Batoul. Could you let the audience know a little bit about your background and how you got involved with this project of the Jaffray Academy?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So I'm Batoul Sarraj. I've been maths teacher for over 10 years, and I have been supporting the Jaffray Academy in terms of advice and sharing my expertise in the social and the academic aspect of the school.
Okay, and Sister Zahra.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Zahra Milani, and I've been teaching English for the past 5 years. I support the Jaffray in running a creative writing club twice a week in the evenings.
I wanted to talk about, some of your background as well as an example, Sister Batoul. What have your experiences have been over the last coming up for a year now since the lockdown and with the pandemic? What has been your experience of having to adapt to the new situation?
Yeah, I think it's the uncertainty of the things that we're living in at the moment. So not knowing what's going to happen. I mean, if they said schools are closed for 1 year, maybe we will adopt our scheme of work, we adopt our teaching style, our assessment for learning. All of that would be adopted according to what we're living in. But because we don't know what's happening, we don't know things going to change in 2 weeks' time. It's going to, so we're literally living week by week at the moment as teachers. We don't know what we're expecting. And I think that was the most difficult thing at the moment as a teacher, because you can't plan ahead. Normally as a teacher, you plan for a half-term, short-term, mid-term planning.
Yeah.
We can't do that because we don't know if it's going to stay on e-learning. Is it going to be a classroom, face-to-face learning? So I think that was the main difficulty as a teacher, not knowing what was going to happen next. But besides that, I mean, the good news is that as a teachers, we have learned a lot of new skills in how to deliver lessons online and how to assess and how to engage children. So that was another thing that I think we would never have thought of doing if that pandemic didn't happen.
Alhamdulillah. So have you also been teaching at the Jaffray Academy for this last semester, or are you going to be starting with them?
No, I haven't taught, and I don't think I'll be teaching, but I've just been with them, so with them in the journey, so kind of supporting them, advising them, all of that, but I'm not involved so far. I mean, I would love to, but I'm not involved so far.
Yeah, so busy, I can imagine, with teaching. It is so demanding. Sister Zahra, when did the idea for Jaffray Academy start, or when did you get involved?
So I'm not sure when the idea actually started, but I remember it was probably lockdown. Yeah, towards the end of lockdown last year. So maybe April, May. And what has happened is the idea came about, we want to create an online school. How are we going to get the staff together? Now, anybody who's ever been involved in creating a school, especially if it's going to be something that's going to be reachable to everybody, knows that it takes anywhere between 3 to 5 years to set up.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a leap of faith, but it was a team effort. And I'd like to say I had a hand in it, but in all honesty, I probably didn't. And just, it was amazing. Within 3 months, the teachers were there. Everything was set up. And obviously, there were teething problems like there are with everything. With all school, I mean, even I'm sure both sisters can agree, even with us as teachers who are working in, when I say a solid school, I mean as in a school with buildings. we had to adapt and things were changing and we had teething problems. But, I think most probably from June till August, the whole thing was set up.
It's amazing. That's so quick. And what personally kind of motivated you to get involved? And I'm sure you have a very busy schedule as well. So you might have thought, I just can't take on something extra on top of my very busy schedule already. What was it that
it's just education really has become my passion. It probably wasn't a few years ago, but it has become my passion. And the longer I spend in teaching, the more I want to, it baffles me that there are so many Muslims all over the world, but especially in London. And yet, how many state schools, for example, do we have that are Muslim based?
Yeah.
How many Shia schools do we have? We have an amazing Shia school, but it's a private school. And it's just nice to have that alternative. And Jaffray obviously offers that alternative to have that. And inshallah, I really, really hope, and I have a vision that inshallah we'll end up having a few state schools that are based on the Shia faith, inshallah, within the next few years. I really, really hope so. And the thing that pushes me is because, our religion's beautiful. It's open. We are so open to everybody. We're so giving. I work in a Catholic school. I have been doing for the past 3 years now. And it's amazing how much people want to learn because we are adaptable. Our religion isn't frigid. It isn't strict. It's our culture that makes it that way, unfortunately. So it's that push and that drive to think that I can do this, I can help. And to be honest, the team are absolutely fantastic. The Jaffray Academy team, So
I'd completely second that. Absolutely. Yeah, they're an amazing team there. Sorry, sister, go on.
No, I'm done. I think I've spoken too much.
No. The very fact that you said that, I said, wow, yes, they are. And you won't believe this, Sister Rebecca. And, I joined Jaffray 1 week before it was about to start. I had no clue. It was like kind of a divine providence coming my way and saying, do you want to go this way? And I have not regretted one bit of it. And it's an amazing school. As Sister Zahra said, it's a value-based school. And in our assemblies, we have children coming up and talking about values, about imams as role models. And there is so much of love and understanding because we share the same faith as well. So I think it's a very vibrant, lovely place to be.
And so far, this has all been online, yeah? I mean,
yes,
the assemblies. Yes. So do you have a schedule? You have a daily schedule? It's like a school schedule? You have an assembly in the morning and then...
Absolutely. We have assembly and we have 5 lessons. So they have Arabic as well as one of their lessons. And they've got the core subjects, science, maths, and English. And they have project-based learning too. And they have computer science, which they're doing coding and things. So they've got a proper timetable with breaks in between. And, we have registers. We have, a classroom full of students actually even collaborated working as well in breakout rooms. So it's kind of actually simulating the classroom into an online school, which has been great. Although, like Sister Zahra said, any teething problems are there, but we really quickly got over that. And if you see that, I'm so amazed how we've come so far. Mashallah, alhamdulillah.
So you're saying also that, I mean, again, that well-being is also a part of this. Can I ask, first of all, I mean, what was the thinking behind that? Do you know whose idea that was? Or, I mean, because in the past, I mean, even kind of like various Islamic schools in the West have, they might have focused on Salah or fasting in the month of Ramadan, but they haven't really kind of focused so much on the spiritual aspects or the psychological aspects, the kind of well-being aspects of the students. So, it's kind of interesting that is going to be a part of the curriculum for the school. Is that being implemented or has been implemented up to now?
Shall I speak?
Yes.
Sister Zahra wants to say. Actually, Sister Zahra's sister is going. Is it your sister? I think, isn't she? She's doing well-being program. So from the 3rd of March, we're going to be having. Yes. Sorry. Yes, Sister.
Sorry. I think is it Dr. Amina that's going to be doing the well-being? There are quite a few people who are involved. I think it's a collaboration between quite a few people who are going to be doing it.
Okay, yes, Sister Amina. Yes, that's right. Yes.
Alhamdulillah.
So they're rolling in. Only today we were told that they're going to roll in some leadership skills, some self-confidence skills, and goal setting, and all those kind of self-development skills and well-being skills that they will be having workshops on as part of a everyday school. So they'll have a subject doing that once a week in a way.
Was this idea of taking part in a project that I mean, as an example, I taught at an Islamic college in London, and of course with many Muslim students from different backgrounds, but everyone's kind of, most of the people were a Londoner in a sense. So, but this is going to be a school that is taking in students from all kinds of different backgrounds, different cultural sensitivities, as an example. Has that been something that the teachers have had to think about, or is there a kind of a kind of a well-practiced confidence that it's going to address those kind of different needs?
I think that I don't think that the sensitivities actually play a role in how everything's being taught, simply because the teachers are all qualified teachers. They know what they're doing. And this whole idea of well-being and having a program where we are looking at the child's psychology as well as their academic success has been something that actually Ofsted has been sort of pushing for quite a few years now in state schools, looking at things like cultural capital, before they scored SMSC, the social, moral, spiritual, cultural aspect. So I think they've just brought whatever it is they know from their training into that. And yes, there are certain cultural differences between people. Obviously, Muslims within Africa, and then you've got the Muslims here, and even within the cities and the tiny, there is a difference. But I think everything's being taught professionally according to the national curriculum. I haven't come up with an issue so far, so I don't know if Sister Nikhat wants to say anything about that. Or
Sister Nikhat, in your experience?
Well, I think they've made good friends with each other. In fact, they keep asking them, "What's the weather like in Rwanda today?" So I think they've really gelled together quite well. And I think any educational establishment is going to have differences in culture and languages and things. So it's not something that is new to education in a way. So I don't see much of a problem there at all.
Alhamdulillah. Sister Batoul, what are some of the tips that you could give parents? Of course, it's been a very stressful time for children and parents. I mean, not just stressful. I mean, I've come across parents who have also said it's been quite a blessed time because they've been able to spend more time with their children than they would normally. But in terms of coping with, I mean, there was one parent who said to me that the main thing that she was focusing on during this period, as well as her work, was the mental well-being of her children. So what are some of the tips that you could give to parents for helping their children's mental well-being during this time?
So obviously, keeping the consistency, the routine is so important. Making sure children go to bed early, like they have school the next day. Make sure that you address the emotions. I know there's a lot of parents are pushing their children. They think because all the task goes on online. So when you look at the slides and all the work that's been set, you think as a parent they need to accomplish all of that within that time frame they've given you. You've got to understand that each child works in a different pace. So as a teacher, we know that these slides, maybe only 70% of the class would be able to accomplish it, but there's also 30% they might go in a different pace, and that's completely fine. Parents need to know that. They need to know their kids' limits, and they need to address that and be more considerate according to their emotions, the well-being, than to the academic. I mean, at the end of the day, I call it imaginary line. What we aiming for, the GCSE grading, that's all imaginary line that we think we need to be there at that time. But that line can change to according to the children, to the generation, to that children when they reach year 11. So as a parent, just, you know, calm down, relax, don't stress your children out, but do keep the consistency. Do make sure they, every day, it's same as the day they go to school. Make sure they wake up early, do the work, have the lunchtime, you know, keep that, because it's so important, because once they go back to school, it's going to be quite difficult for them to adopt again to it. So keep it going on, and use that time that you have to do your bit, enjoy them. I mean, I think I have my little one now at home with me, and I do obviously make sure that she does the learning that she's supposed to do, but I also kind of think it's the time with me, like this is the time I can do things with her as well, which I might not have it. So I try to use that, and I think it will be a nice experience for her, you know. And that's what I say to my students as well when I teach online. So I go to them, you know what, this is the time off now. Go get off the screen, go and do something now. Do something with the family. And when we meet again after an hour, please tell me what you've done in that 1 hour when I left you. So they always come back and they tell me, like, oh, I played with my siblings, or I did this with my parents. So it's nice to have that family time with that time. And I also think that, you know, in terms of not knowing what's going to happen and all that negativity that we're having around us, I think we need to stop watching the media, and need to stop, you know, checking the media as well. It's like they don't know what's going on. Everything they put up, most of it is not true. Nobody knows what's going to happen. I mean, like, even us as teachers, I mean, we have meetings with the head, we have meetings with people from the borough, and they don't know what's going on. We all wait for the speeches that we get from our Prime Minister. So we don't know what's happening. We can't predict. So everything you see on the media, that the school's going to open, the school's should be shut for another year, these are not true. They're making it up. So try not to listen to the media. Just enjoy the time that you're having. I think that's what it is. You know, enjoy it and be positive.
That's right. I want to add that actually it's important to remind ourselves that this is a unique situation actually, and it's a global health emergency that none of us have any access. You know, we have to face it, so we don't have to beat ourselves about not functioning the usual standard. You see, and even our quality of work, our upkeep of the home, our ability to keep our kids focused, all this it just stresses us up. So we need to go easy on the kids. And I've told many of the people I know in my circles, keep hope, as in HOPE. So H is give them lots of hugs. O is organize your day. And P is pray and play as well. And E is definitely exercise. One of the most important things to keep us going, really. So have hope in a way.
Yes, no, that's so important, because I think nowadays, I mean, of course, they talk about young people suffering more and more from depression and anxiety, and I think last year was quite a shock for young people, as they literally before their eyes kind of watched things change. I mean, they were gearing up for their GCSEs and their A levels, and literally kind of, you know, it changed overnight, and then. And I think that, I mean, they were left in the dark, a lot of them. I mean, does anyone know is anyone in touch with any students from last year who were going to take their GCSEs at all? Does anyone know of any students that have gone through that, or any results from that?
Yeah, we do have kids who are retaking. Okay. And obviously their retake is based on the teacher and the school assessment. A grade. So, but then they didn't appeal it, because at the end of the day, those children, they know they have set mock before the lockdown, before the March lockdown. Children have set 2 exams before that, so they know what grade they're working toward. You know, so they knew where they were going to get at the end of the year, and I think that's what I was talking before about. They know at the end of the day that teachers are fair, and they're going to give them grade based on what they have in front of them. So, you know, the work, the classwork, the effort, and obviously the mock exam grades. So they knew what they're expecting. So there's none of them appealed, or none of them, you know, rejected the grades. They were happy with it, and they just need to fit this year.
Yeah, I think the ones that weren't very happy with their grades, either because they couldn't get into college, or they just wanted a different grade, end up sitting, I think it was in November, the resets they did.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but they, and some of them did achieve higher grades and some of them didn't. So,
But there was also a problem with this furore about the algorithm, right?
Yes.
The teachers submitted their expected grades for students, which were then put into an algorithm to define final results. Yeah. And however, the outputs seemed to disadvantage a lot of students. And I know some of them that happened. And then the government backtracked, except the original teacher grading.
Yeah.
So sometimes, yes.
Yeah. Because you've got to bear in mind that they have to look at school. These are standardized scores. So the school have to achieve every year the same kind of similar results. Mm-hmm. And you can't, as a school, suddenly go from 72% passing grade to 99% passing grade. They know straight away that's something wrong. So that's why I think some schools try to do that, and then they obviously realized what they've done, and then they overcome it. Yeah, and then that's why we thought the government has done U-turn. But I think it's more kind of filtering the schools who didn't do the grading right.
Right. Yes. I mean, I guess it's a kind of learning curve for everybody. It's like, how do I grade my students, and especially students who might not have done well in their mocks, but they were hoping to do better in their final exams as well. So if the Jaffray Academy is running this year, Sister Nikhat, I mean, what are the? I guess because it's online, then the students will be taking their exams online. Then there isn't that anxiety, the same anxiety that there might have been for students in-house last year.
We don't have that many GCSE students, to tell you the truth, at the moment, because we're just in the inception stage. So we've got more Key Stage 3. However, we do have a couple of students who are working towards, so the teachers are helping them to working towards their GCSEs. And they are providing work on which the teachers will mark them and grade them. So we don't have too many students at this moment in time, so we're not sort of affected as much.
Okay, so inshallah, hopefully by the time they get up to GCSE, this situation would have been hopefully passed.
Inshallah.
By then, inshallah. Yeah. So one thing I was going to ask as well is if they are being assessed, how do you assess them? I mean, again, the old traditional way is the wooden desk in the exam hall, 1 meter apart and so on. So how do you assess the students, make sure like there hasn't been any extra help, to put it politely, that's been given to them if they're being assessed from home? Sister Nikhat.
Well, I can I ask this question to pass it on to Sister Zahra, because they are in the main schooling system, so they might be able to answer that better.
Sure.
Yeah. The thing is, it's, in all honesty, we've been teaching these kids for a while, right? Some of them we've been teaching for 2 years. We know what they're capable of, and like I said this morning, I was telling the boys, it's not that you cannot suddenly be exceptional and suddenly exceed our expectations, because they can always do that, but it's just the fact that we know what's coming and where it's coming from. In the end of the day, you can't, I don't think any school, and I'm sure Batoul will agree with this, any school can hand on heart say that they know 100% that their students haven't sort of used resources from outside, but we're doing our best, and I guess that's the best you can do. What else are you supposed to do? Yeah. We've got our third set of mocks actually coming up after half term for our year 11s. And we're going to, because we teach them through Microsoft Teams, that is how we're going to be assessing them, and it's on the forms and stuff. But I guess that's all we can do, right? There's nothing else we can do.
Yeah. So what would you say, of course, I mean, again, a lot of teachers were suddenly having to adapt to teaching online, and it's a kind of a different format, different challenges. What are some of the advantages of teaching online, Sister Batoul, in your experience? People are talking about like the stress of having to quickly adapt, but what do you feel are some of the strengths of teaching online?
I think it's that connection that you have with the children. That was the main thing, like I tried to keep the relationship the same as we are face to face, but it's quite hard because you do give the choice to children not to put the screen on, and some kids can't access the microphone as well, so you can't hear them, so most of the time they're typing, so you don't have that connection with the children, and you don't see how they are progressing in the lesson. So as a teacher, when you're in the classroom, you are good, like teachers, the good teachers are good observers. So the teachers who observe the kids' faces and the body language and the work they do in their exercise book. So you observe all of that without you realizing actually you're doing that. And online, you don't see that. You can't observe the kids, facial expression, the body language. You can't see that. So you don't know if they quiet because they have understood it and they ready to move on, or they quiet because they don't understand it. So I think that was the thing. I call it assessment for learning. So that was the main area that I think when I talk to my colleagues, it's an area where most teachers are struggling with. Is that having that relationship, that connection, and also to be able to assess children progress throughout the lesson. I mean, we as a teacher, you do assess them through plenaries by end of the lesson or through a mini assessment. So that's all right, it's there. But throughout the lesson, just to see, all right, so have they understood that? Is there any misconception? And obviously, online for a new teacher, a lot of, at the moment, I'm mentoring PGCE student. I think for a new teacher, even PGCE or NQT, new teachers, I think it's quite difficult because the misconception of each topic is not there for them yet, and for them to be able to access it and to be able to deliver it to the children, it's quite difficult online because you can't see where they're going wrong yet.
Yeah, that must be really, really challenging. So I guess, I mean, just because there's a pandemic doesn't mean that, there's not people going to be applying for jobs. People are, in fact, more so going to be sort of looking for jobs. And
if you don't mind, I can add something here. The difference between Jaffray and normal school online teaching is that Jaffray has got smaller classes, number one. Secondly, we've started them off. So we've built the rapport to start with, and now the cues are coming from them, whether they understand or they don't understand. And I can see all of them because it's a small class. I can see all of them face to face in a way as well. And there are so many online things that they can do now as well. There's a beautiful thing where now the YouTube show that connects young people with explorers around the world, and you can hear behind the scenes of stories. So it really motivates them. Some of our Jaffray students also had an interaction with a school in Zanzibar, and they talked to the students there. We had a lady who went to China, and she was talking about Islam in China. So the very fact that it's online, there is a lot of opportunities there as well, in a way. I understand that there are drawbacks because you can't actually assess them. How do you go around looking at whether they're doing the right thing? However, I think with Jaffray, because it's a smaller school, we're able to sort of really do creative work and be able to really have that rapport and understanding and with them too. So that I just wanted to add that.
Sorry,
can I also add? School. Yeah, it's the dynamic of the school. So I think the Jaffray ahead of. I think that's why I think kids who are there are lucky because they have that consistency. Obviously, at the beginning of the year they were online learning, and also the teachers are trained to deliver online learning. So that's it's a different dynamic to. I'll use Zahra's terminology about solid school, like school that has building, where kids have to go to it. So it's completely different. But I think that's why the kids in Jaffray are advantaged because obviously because they're already ahead of the game.
Yeah, also with online learning, I know, like we said, there are obviously negative aspects, but what I've learned specifically from teaching is that I've actually got a student, believe it or not, who if you hear a noise from the wall, you will hear a noise from him. He's silent all the time during the classroom. And we had parents' evening, it was about 3 weeks ago. And this boy, by the way, has been contributing verbally. He's been typing things into the chat. His work is being submitted on time. He's always asking for feedback, for more work. And his dad said to me, do you know what? He's very, very comfortable with being online. He doesn't feel as intimidated. He doesn't feel like his voice is not being heard. He knows that he can privately message his teachers whenever he needs to. And the benefit of sometimes hiding behind a screen, so to speak, I guess, I think that's a really big thing because as we know, teenagers and children, but mostly teenagers, have confidence issues, right? Yeah. So the fact that they don't have to be out there, they're not showing off their clothes and their bags and their shoes. And it's no longer the social aspect of who can look better or who can be the class clown, because they know the teachers can mute all of them. It's more who can excel academically, who wants to speak up, who wants to achieve. That's the first thing. Another thing is I've been specializing in teaching kids with special needs. And I've noticed that those children with special needs have really excelled behind the screen because they have technology at their fingertips. They are, I've got one who's got a speech impediment, and he's not worried anymore because he no longer has to worry about people waiting for him to finish his sentences, And I always say, both to the students I teach at the Jaffray Academy and to the students I teach during the normal school, I said them, Google it. Miss, we don't know. I said, Google it. I have no issue with you finding out information. I don't care how you get it. Just give me the information. And, being in a mainstream school, in a solid school, you don't really have that opportunity. They're not allowed phones in most schools. They don't have access to computers. They're having to waste time. I think that's the biggest thing with being online. You're not wasting time. You're literally going from one lesson to another. You're not wasting time by this person decides to wander off to the toilet on the way to the classroom and then they get in trouble, and the whole ripple effect of behavioral issues that can be avoided from being behind a screen. And I know I can see all of you smiling because I'm sure this resonates very well with all of you. But I think that's the biggest benefit of online schooling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alhamdulillah, that's really good. I think that as you say, it kind of provides in some way a more equal platform for students. It's less about their personality in some. As you say, who's got the dominant personality, and more about who is engaging with the class. So that's great. And I think also, like you say, Sister Nikhat, about the interaction between students internationally, that's very exciting. I think that in a way it's quite liberating, because if you are in a solid school, say in the UK, a big part of being in that school is still to kind of inculcate within the students some kind of nationalistic sentiment. They study the Second World War for history, as I hear that's pretty much all they study, and
English too, might I add.
Right. So they're not really developing a kind of international mindset or an awareness of kind of say the UK's place internationally at a global level, but with Jaffray Academy, when you're connecting up with students from different parts of the world, that's what is so nice.
And you can tailor make the curriculum as well. You see, you don't have to teach World War. So they did a part of a geography thing, and then they did ethical trading. They looked at Bangladesh. They looked at different things, and some children looked at Iran and Iraq and how the economy was going. So I think you can be very creative in your curriculum, because it's all about learning. It's not about pinpointing and saying you have to learn about the World War II or whatever. It's all about gaining skills. So in Jaffray, you can be flexible in that sense as well.
Okay. So I guess if you have smaller classes, then it means that you can also kind of tailor, the classes to the needs of the student as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So they can. I know in Arabic they're put into different breakout rooms, and they have a separate teacher depending on their level. Quran recitation is the same as well. So you can tailor make quite a bit. You can put extra teachers, or you can have some extra lessons for them. So yes, definitely, it's a great advantage.
Alhamdulillah. So again, we've had some kind of tips on how children can study at home for their GCSEs, and we were also Sister Batoul said to the parents, don't panic or calm down a bit. Obviously, again, it's a big adaptation for the parents in terms of what's happened with regard to the change in their schedule. So they've had to go from obviously going to the office, and the child knows what time they're going to come home, to being at home and having to still perhaps engage in demanding jobs, but at the same time accommodate the emotional and psychological needs of their children as well, not just the educational needs. So again, any kind of tips or advice on this kind of support that parents can get during this time?
I think, do you mind if I start? So I think one of the big things is with all schools, is to keep communication with teachers open. We've been making calls home all the time, but then I've got parents who will reach out and message me privately. So if, as a parent, you are worried about anything, nothing is too silly. And you have to always remember that these teachers are trained to look after your child, not just teach them. We look after them, we nurture them. They spend so much time with us in schooling. We hopefully, inshallah, know what we're doing with them. So your job as a parent really is just to love these children and to appreciate them. And like Batoul said, just to be around them. But if you are having issues, definitely contact the teacher. Let them know what's happening. If you feel your child's emotional well-being is not as good as it was yesterday, let the teachers know. It's not trivial at all. Sometimes you will get an answer immediately, but sometimes you won't. But that's fine. There will be an acknowledgement that your child is in need of some extra care or attention that day, or maybe to even be ignored, depending on what it is they like, however it is they like to be treated. And I'm sure all sisters here would agree that if you as a teaching body, we tend to have conversations between us, right? So if I'm a form tutor of a child and somebody's the English teacher, they will come and tell me, and then it goes around all the teachers and everybody knows what's going on. So definitely contact the school, have a word with them, and voice your thoughts.
Inshallah. So that's good. So there, the teachers. You're going to say, Sister Batoul?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think in our community we have this fear of contacting the school and telling them that my child's well-being, I'm worried about my child's well-being, because we think that's a sign of us failing as a parent, but that's not. At the end of the day, it's a collaborative work, it's a school work, it's a parents' work, and we work together toward one aim, and that is to have established, successful human being. So I would definitely concur with Zahra's what she said about calling the school, get them engaged, because they would know, they are trained, they know what's happening. They will come up with a lot of ideas to address the emotions, to address the stress or anything that the problem is. They will come up with something and they will support. So and the nice thing, they will contact you back and they will let you know what they did as well. So you as a parent, you have a lot of pride over the school. So do get in touch with the school. Don't feel stressed. Don't feel alone. I think that's the message.
Yeah.
And if I may add, at Jaffray, we are like a big, huge family. So every now and again, the head teacher is all the time in contact with parents. They're contacting us. So we're like kind of talking to each other all the time, which is really beautiful, actually, really. So that's one way, keeping in touch with the teachers and the school. I think that's a great idea.
What's your impression of obviously, because it's just been running for a short time? I mean, there must be I guess some kind of excitement maybe and happiness that this has been established.
Yes.
No.
Yes, I think all of us are quite excited how it's taken shape. Really, on the first day of school, I thought, oh God, I'm not sure how this is going to happen. But I think I'm sort of taking it on. When you do something longer, the kids are also taking on the online learning. And of course, every day we're improvising. If we talk to each other and we decide, okay, we need extra 5 minutes for Salah, we can do that because it's an online school. And we think, oh, it's 12:25, it's Salah time. We can shorten the lesson and we can change it. And we just have to let them know. So there is a sense of flexibility here. So which is quite nice. And the other thing I really like about Jaffray School is the creativity. So, today in science, they were not given homework, but they were said to do the science experiment, video themselves, and then show the teacher, which was so lovely because they can be as creative as possible. And especially like Sister Zahra said that online, you're able to do a lot of different things, and bullying is not a problem, and you can work together and you can really show your potential there. So they've made documentaries, they've made a website, they did PowerPoints, and even yesterday my students did a caboodle to just consolidate all their learning. So they went in groups and they did a caboodle quiz for the rest of them. And how creative is that? So you can really build that creativity in a school like that.
Alhamdulillah, that's really important, and that's also kind of obviously training the children, not even training them, but kind of, as you say, providing that foundation or that platform for them to develop. And
yes.
It sounds a little bit different from the kind of more. I mean, I feel like the British school curriculum has become quite prescriptive in a way. As I noticed, it's kind of like, this is what you have to learn, and make sure you learn it, and a lot of the creativity has gone out of it. Sister Zahra, you're going to say?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's, I mean, even though this new idea of cultural capitals come in, and it has been highly beneficial because, we've been able to adapt schemes of work and to do all of that. Essentially, when it comes to your GCSEs, that's it. You do what you're told, and you have no variety. I mean, even through teaching English, for example, there are a certain number of texts you can teach for literature. Now, if I have taught a certain text at Key Stage 3, and the kids have taken really well to it, but then we've been told that you can only teach this text for GCSE, the children who don't like the GCSE text are at a disadvantage because we haven't taught it well enough for them to pass their GCSEs, because we've been told, don't teach anything GCSE before year 10, and it has to be like this. So it is really, really prescriptive. And there are consequences if you move away. And it's not the school per se. It's not, I'm not sort of blaming any school. It is just the way our curriculum is. Actually today, funny enough, when I was reading online, there are kids who are complaining about how awful it is that they are forced to learn things they don't want to learn, and how is this going to help me? And I'm sure all of us as teachers can resonate with the question of, how does this help me in the real life? And then we're sort of scrambling, trying to figure out how it really helps them.
Trying to get them to teach them maths, algebra.
That's
always the question. Why algebra is going to help me in life?
Absolutely. How is Shakespeare going to help me? I don't even understand, and it's just always trying to defend. It feels like half the time we are defending our subjects, no matter how passionate we are and how much we love it. But I think once you have this creativity within the curriculum, students are then able to then go and say, you know what, maybe I don't want to do a geography GCSE, maybe I don't want to do a history GCSE, I'll do an RE one, for example, or whatever. And then they'll take what tailor makes them. Now, one of the biggest things within the UK government is that they always want us to look up, basically they want us to create human beings who are well-rounded, right? That's what we're always being told. Make sure that your kids are well-rounded. But we're not given the chance to do that. But they do have that within the Jaffray Academy. And inshallah, I hope that things change. Yeah.
And inshallah. They say as they say, education is what remains after one has forgotten everything he learns in school, right? So that's true education, I suppose.
That's a good point. But that's a good point you make about how there's this emphasis on kind of students being rounded people, but yet the curriculum, at least in the UK, is pretty rigid. So we just got a few minutes before we end, and what is the role of parents? And we've talked a little bit about how parents can, what they need to do if they're feeling stressed from adapting to the new situation. But what should their role be? I mean, obviously they can't teach all subjects. Each parent has their own strengths. So how do they deal with homeschooling during this period? Sister Batoul.
I mean, I thought in terms of, emotions, and obviously we did say to go back to school, but I think also as a parent during the pandemic, let's focus on other areas than just education. There's so much stuff as a parents we can give to our children, and we wished for that time to have, so we can give it. I'm going to take a challenge called Off-Screen Day in my school. And I'm taking another challenge from my daughter's school, and that's called Walking Day. So we're going to have off-screen day, which means that a day where, no TV, no phone, nothing. And we're going to go back to the days where none of that existed, and we're going to come up with so many activities during that day, and engage with the child. I mean, there's so much stuff we can do with them. Like, I'm not going to say obviously read Quran and Arabic and all of that, because we will do that, but as I'm sure a lot of parents do that. But just telling them stories, sitting with them, telling them about your grandparents' history, or just get them to connect with your culture, with your heritage. I think
very important.
You have that time now, and why not do it? So I'm taking those two challenges at the moment. I hope people across who can hear me can do that same. And the other one is just walk out, come out the house, go around for a walk, and during the walk come up with conversation, talk to the children, get them to talk. I think as a parents we always forget to listen to our children. Give them that walk, and while you're walking, just listen to what they have in their mind. They can go from one topic to another. Try not to interfere, because what they're showing you is what they think and who they are. And maybe after that, you can just rectify, correct, and do all of these things. So let's not just focus on education and academic. It is important. I'm not saying it's not. But at the end of the day, those children are our children, and we want them to be like us, or better than us. So, use that time to have that, to improve them.
That's a really good point about improving the relationship with your child. I mean, maybe these months of this situation, pandemic situation, will be a rare opportunity that might not come back again in the future. Once this is, inshallah, past, then it's going to be back to the same, kind of thing of everybody rushing. And so this could be quite a special time for building those bonds. Just in the last couple of minutes, Sister Zahra, as well, any tips for parents with regard to their children's education? I mean, I know some parents they're very, very heavily involved in their children's education, and they might themselves be feeling anxious about what they should do to reach the targets and keep kind of keep abreast of where their child is supposed to be at.
I think definitely this is something that our religion's taught us, is something that now we're constantly being told about, the whole mental health thing. But you have to lead by example. I can't sit here and not achieve things and expect my child to achieve them. But at the same time, if I want my child to learn and to progress, then I will sit down and learn and progress. But building on what Batoul has said, do things with your child and get to know them. I think a lot of our frustration from our kids, and I'm speaking personally as a mother of two, is that we don't know our children, right? So if they don't conform to what I don't know, then I'm going to get angry and I will shout and I will do, how dare you disrespect me? I want you to do it this way. Listen, just like Batoul said, listen to them. It's amazing how much you can learn from children. It really is. And you know what? They don't want to read a book. Don't read a book. For example, my younger one loves playing these card games, things like Uno, and we sit down and we play Uno. And in the beginning, I remember, I'm going to be very honest, the first time I sat down, I thought, oh man, like, when is this game going to finish? Because my mind is going 100 miles per hour. I'm thinking about what I'm cooking, what I'm cleaning, blah, blah. And she's in her element. She's got these cards and she's just taking her time and choosing. And in the beginning, I was like, why? But then, you know what? Now it's become our little thing. Whenever she's upset, I'll, try to talk to her. She doesn't want to listen. She'll, have a frown. She'll sit in the corner, turn her face. Just bring the Uno cards next to her and I'll sit down. And she gets that. It becomes this non-verbal communication. Or, you know what, Batoul, I'm going to take you up on that non-technology day thing. I absolutely love it. And the walking challenge. We'll do it together, right?
Yeah.
So we'll go out. Absolutely. You know what? Hold their hands. The gift of spending time with your child. In the end of the day, the teachers that are trained to teach them will do whatever they can. Trust me. Our blood boils for our students probably more than their parents does, right? We will do what they need to do to bring them up because we want to move on. We don't want to be stuck here, right? Your job is to get to know your child, love them, protect them, be around them, as frustrating as it can get. And if it gets too much, go get yourself noise cancelling headphones, put them on for an hour and shut your door. That's my advice.
That's excellent. So we just got, say, 1 minute before we have to, 1 minute, 30 seconds, Sister Nikhat, finally, advice to parents who are, who have enrolled their children and are teaching online. Any kind of tips that they should be they should be doing with this new situation for them.
Yeah, I echo both the sisters. I think we should enjoy a deeper interaction with them, because after all, we are leaders, we are role models, we are a coach for them, we are an advisor, and we are the ones who can facilitate their positive growth. So definitely have a deep interaction. And I would also say make them lifelong learners. So if they have intrinsic motivation to learn, as you are a learner, if I'm a learner, just like sister said, walk your talk in a way. So if you are
Oh, you just got cut off there briefly.
Yes,
yeah.
I did. Yes. So, yeah,
You're still there, yeah? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Yes, that's
Okay.
fine. So, yes, basically to give them the intrinsic motivation to be lifelong learners and have a deep interaction.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. So we just reached the end of this podcast. Inshallah, I believe it's going to be running for the second Friday every month. So this is the first one. And inshallah, we will be back for further discussions and assessments of where we're up to with Jaffray Academy, and also the situation of children and their education at the moment under the pandemic. So thanks very much to everybody for tuning in, and thank you so much for our guests and for the excellent points and discussion. And we will see you, inshallah, next month for the next podcast. Assalamu alaikum.